Hello and welcome to the Social Recruiting Show. I'm Katina Collier. I am, of course, author of The Robot Proof Recruiter, and I'm also a facilitator and speaker. I'm, of course, joined by the person who's trying really hard to distract me from my introduction, the apparently talented talent acquisition professional, the one, the only, the amazing Glenn Martin. Hello, Glenn.
Hola.
And I am super excited to be talking to Sarah Knight, who I've been stalking on Instagram for a couple of years, really. Quite a while, isn't it, that I've been following you?
Welcome, Sarah.
Who is not only a brilliant, talented recruiter, but you're also MD of a company. And I couldn't think of anyone better to have on right now to talk about what the hell is going on with this damn virus and work and stuff. So welcome to the show.
Hi.
Welcome.
Good to be here.
Welcome, Sarah.
Oh, he's doing slow clap this week. Oof.
Oh, yeah, I did.
What does that mean?
He normally does this. He's gone like, no. I suppose the virus is slowing us down.
Slowing everything down, yeah.
Going straight into it. Yeah, the virus is...
I know. I think Glenn has been on back-to-back conference calls, people. So if he's just not as good as he normally is,
I'm
give him 5.
energetic.
Come on, Glenn.
I'm super energetic now.
Sarah needs you.
Sarah, before we kind of get into the topic of today's show, it'd be really wicked to kind of get an understanding of how, or your journey to being MD of your own company. So how did you kind of get into recruitment? What was, the kind of interest, and how did you get to where you are today? Very high level.
Like loads of people, I just completely fell into recruitment. So I'm from Essex, and I moved to Devon just over 20 years ago. And it was never intended to be more than maybe a year. My then partner.
That's what I said, Sarah. When I got offered the job, I was like, I'll do 12 months.
Do you know, it's the cream teas, the beach. Like, so came to Devon, Exmouth, and then went into Exeter with my CV in hand, as you did back in the old days, and walked into an agency.
An actual printed copy.
An actual physical CV.
Copy.
Walked in and actually physically spoke to them. And they said, hey, you'd be great here. We need a temp for a couple of weeks, and, come and join us. And then that turned into a maternity contract for their administrator. And then I ended up kind of going up through the ranks. And quite funny now when I look back, actually, the regional manager at the time, when I wanted to become a consultant, said, you're just not salesy enough. I just don't think you've got what it takes. And I just thought, whatever. And
that was a nice red flag, wasn't it?
Yeah, voted with my feet, and then went and joined an independent agency in Exeter, multi-branch. And then I sort of worked my way up, was headhunted by another firm to set up an agency for them, which I did as an employee. I didn't have any stake in the business, which actually was quite a good thing, at the point when I then lost my job as the business went down. And my MD at the point said, if anyone should open up their own agency, it's you. And of course, I'd already done it for someone else, but without any financial investment. And so I did, with a loan from my dad at that point, because my choices then were, obviously go and get another employed role or go and set up. And I'd actually never really wanted to. It wasn't a dream of mine to open an agency particularly.
So was that 2005?
2005, no. Yeah. And
so just before kind of you'd have just got going, and then...
Well, 2005, for me, for where I was, they were good times.
Yeah.
That was like sports car, kind of league for me. I didn't even have to be in the office most of the time. I'd built this great team. It was, a real kind of heyday until, of course, 2008 when we had a crash.
Which is why we had
2008.
Yeah, we remember. Which is why we thought we're just keeping your head and making smart decisions would be a good.
Like this.
Hence our show topic, because obviously keeping your head and making smart decisions. We have, the three of us, been through 2008, when 1 minute we're rolling in it, and the next minute we're really not. So,
and I know we don't look old enough to have been there in the thick of 2008, but people, it is the truth. We were there.
Filters.
Yeah, tough times.
It was, wasn't it?
Tough times. Yeah.
But I think one of the key things is that we came out of 2008, right? And I think hence the perfect timing of the show today. I think we're agency side and in-house are facing very similar challenges again, but uncertain economic times, and we don't know what perhaps the new normal will be.
Yeah.
So
I think the difference in 2008, though, there weren't the in-house teams like there are now.
It's true. Yeah,
so actually less competition for agents, I think, in that last. So that it really was the thing that spurred on the growth of the in-house teams because of all the people appearing online and that ability to access them. It did really change around that time, didn't it? It was one of the things that came out of it. I just remember sitting there running 40 contractors one day and the next second not. Just the shock.
Yeah.
Just the shock. And I have sat here this time as my pipeline, the whole lot just got postponed to the end of the year. I know I don't recruit anymore, but all of my speaking facilitation just got like shoved over there. Was the panic. Having been through it before was like, oh no, I can't go through this again. Oh my God. So have you felt similar this time, or have you found it different? Or
I think so. Yeah, I mean, there are definitely similarities. So a bit like 2008, I literally came into work one day to most things being put on hold, cancelled, withdrawn, and pipeline all but disappeared.
Yeah,
and that's kind of how I remember it in 2008. But actually, the type of recruitment I was doing was a little bit different then. But there was that utter panic of what am I going to do as a single parent, as a business owner with responsibility for however many members of staff, all of a sudden to not essentially have an income that you can rely on. Actually, in 2008, that was really tough. We ended up going in and doing a slightly different type of recruitment. So we were a very traditional high street agency that did temps, perms, industrial and kind of general office. Actually, what happened to us in 2008 was that we actually reviewed the services we were providing. We left the industrial, which quite anybody that's doing it or has done it knows that that's blooming hard work. Kind of made
made harder by Brexit.
Yeah, what was going to be maybe more profitable, a better use of our time. We were really fortunate back in 2008 that actually we did end up finding a strong contract, which actually saw us through. And that was a national contract that saw us through, where the regional recruitment was actually being brought in-house again. And there were a lot of people, HR managers or hiring managers in businesses that were deciding to try and cut costs and do it themselves. So actually, when I reflect on 2008 and 2009, maybe looking back, actually for us, it ended up being a positive, which of course is really tricky to see at the time because you're full of fear and and panic and the change that's going on. The business I was in evolved actually, and it did become better as a result. But that doesn't sound like such a great thing to say to somebody at the time when they're going through a tough time. So
actually, I think it sparks an element of hope. Like you looked at your services, which I think is what's being required here, and certainly what I'm doing, and going, well, how can I deliver these differently? How can I add value right this second? How can I, which is really, it's to me, I see like there's an element of hope because you did do that. And off the back of it, got this contract.
I mean, a bit like everybody must be doing at the moment. I mean, I certainly am, is looking at what do we do? Who are we? Who's in the business? What are we paying for? Who are we working with? Who are our suppliers? And actually reviewing everything. I mean, it's a great opportunity to get really lean. We're lean anyway, to be honest, but actually to really review and to be thinking about those kind of next steps. And to be, kind of strong enough to then compete, knowing that you're going to come out the other end of it. We don't know quite when that's going to be, or even what it looks like and what's going to have changed. Because of course, the world of work, I'm sure, is going to look very different to how we left it, a couple of weeks ago. And so, actually, where do we sit there? So, actually, what we're doing in terms of our energy is really looking at our messaging, looking at our clients, looking at what we do. And using this downtime in a really positive way, actually, to come out stronger the other end. But don't get me wrong. Of course, there's a bit of panic and there's some fear. Of course, there is, because we don't know what it looks like or when it's going to happen. But we're trying. I say we, me, and my team are really trying to look at the positives and look at this downtime where the recruitment's quieter, very quiet. Where do we put our energy? And so that's what we're doing.
On that point, Sarah, and not mentioning any client names because clearly, clients are key. But how have you found their approach to you and your team in relation to clearly, hiring's being switched off, so all being put on pause. are you finding that the messaging from clients is quite, you know, kind of amicable? It's like, look, this is the reason why. I hope you understand. And certainly friends and kind of former colleagues of mine who work in larger scale, basically recruitment agencies and RPOs, the tap's just been turned off. It's just like, you're a service. We don't need your service at the moment. That's it. Click off.
Wow.
No real messaging.
Wow.
It's almost like, okay, you kind of know what's going on, so we don't need to tell you that we're not going to be using your services. It's just as simple as that. Are you finding a lot more of a kind of...
No.
Yeah. This is my point. This is what I'm trying to get to. It's like relationships.
It's not all companies are doing that, by the way.
No, they're really not.
No.
They're really not, because I
They're
actually have heard a lot that are still hiring, by the way. I just, to keep it a bit, because we only hear what we hear, right?
Yeah.
That is
And there are
horrific,
companies
though.
still hiring. So, I mean, to start with, I mean, I've been in the recruitment industry just over 20 years, and I've been running a business for a large part of that. So actually, we're very selective about who we work with. So I'm in Devon. We're working with growing SMEs. The market here is probably quite different to the Southeast in terms of kind of the makeup of the sorts of businesses that are here. And I've been working with a lot of them for a long time. Cool. Equally, I've got a team who are building new relationships with companies, but actually we're working really closely with them. So actually it's not just a transaction. We're not just a supplier. In fact, I don't work with companies that treat me like that. I get no joy in that. That's not what we do. You know, if we're not working closely and they don't let us in properly, then we're essentially not that interested in working with them. We've still got companies that are recruiting. So whilst I say our pipeline has diminished, it hasn't gone completely. We had 6 job offers last week, which felt like the most amazing achievement, given almost everything being switched off. 5 acceptances. You know, 1 candidate didn't think it was the right time for them to be moving, you know, which I completely respect. And actually we've got a couple of new starters on Monday, which I think is, you know, incredible, you know, because some of those clients are going to be remotely onboarding the candidates. But I mean, I guess to answer the question, no, we're not getting people just say, go away, you know, don't bother us. Actually, a lot of them are looking to us to find out what else is going on in the market, because, of course, we're working with so many different types of businesses, different industries. They're kind of looking to us to help guide them. Well, what should we do? What do you think in terms of the recruitment? We don't want to lose the talent that's in the pipeline, you know, because some of them we got to 3rd interview. We're literally waiting for an offer, and then they're having to say, oh, we can't do this right now, but we don't want to lose the person either. What do you think? So actually,
see, I think you're setting a great example in the Southwest of how it should be in the Southeast. I mean, I think going forward, when this clears, every candidate will now look at, well, how did you treat your employees, your suppliers, your clients, and your candidates through the process? And if they see, like, I wouldn't want to be recruiting for Wetherspoons right now. Just saying, like, you know, it's like, how have you treated people? And you think you guys are seeing the sense of, because the market's, well, it's hard, isn't it? It's a short supply of everything, isn't it? Because it's a smaller area.
100%.
All about.
Well, I guess also we've got a really low level of unemployment here, particularly where I am.
That's what I was trying to say.
So, you know, we're at full employment. We have been for a long while. So actually, the savvy recruiters, you know, they know it's about relationships. They know it's about connections. And actually, you only have those things if you are genuinely adding value, genuinely looking out for those people and staying in touch and treating them with the respect they deserve and getting to know them and all that good stuff. So actually, that's stuff that we already do. And so we have that reputation. We have those connections with the clients and the candidates. So, you know, we've made it very clear the type of business that we are and who we work with. We're known as a company with integrity, that, you know, give value. So actually, thank goodness, you know, we can rely on that going forward. And actually, we take those clients with us. You know, and a lot of those business owners, they're my peers, you know, because actually we're talking about their recruitment, but actually now we're talking about, how are you? How's your business? How are you coping? You know, what you're going to do with those 60 members of staff now that you don't have an income, and can I help you? Is there anything I can do to help you? Because actually I'm also a business owner with a team who's having, of course, we're all, you know, we're stressed. Depending, I say assume, you know, there's obviously some agencies that are really busy because of the nature of recruitment they do, or the industry they work in. But, you know, we're all now sort of supporting each other. And actually, if there is a positive, it's bringing us closer, you know.
Really, that's fantastic.
Can I just show a couple of positives really quickly? Sorry. I know, Lee, you've got a question. I'm not sure we're going to get to it because I'm not sure we can answer it at the minute. But Audra, so I've forgotten who Audra works for. That's so bad. We know who Audra works for. Audra, right, who you work for, I've gone blank. But, you know, in the East Coast of the USA, still hiring loads. And I love this from Rob White as well. We're seeing clients complete the processes, couriering laptops on Monday to people.
Yeah.
So it's not all...
Cool.
I would imagine that the people who've lost their recruitment are really busy online saying that, and the ones who are super busy aren't, because they're not thinking to, because they're super busy. So that's why I'm not sure we're seeing a balance for you.
I just think my point was really around communication. At this moment in time, when everything is so uncertain, communication becomes the key thing. And just to kind of switch off that communication, because there is a bit of a challenge, seems counterproductive. I mean, a long-time supporter of the show, Simon Hawkyard, posted on LinkedIn. He said, look, after this period, your brand will be associated with how did you treat your people? That's what people are going to remember. And I thought Simon really put, I mean, it was just really, really, really powerful post. It was great to hear, Sarah, that actually within the kind of agency world, peer-to-peer communication is starting, where competition might have existed a little bit more before.
The stuff you were talking about before we came on live.
Yeah, exactly that. It's like, you know, just kind of give us a little bit of an insight now. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you know, I've got some amazing competitors in my marketplace, and actually, you know, I don't want anything to happen to them. I enjoy competing against them. You know, of course I do. And you know, actually, I contacted maybe three, you know, of them, two of which I know already, and one who I don't know so well, and just, you know, sent them a message and said, we need to be talking, you know, we need to be comparing notes. There needs to be, I think, some kind of comparables in terms of, you know, what we're saying to our teams and how we're positioning things, because we are the leaders in our market. And, you know, I think we need to be kind of setting a tone, but actually also supporting each other. It's quite a scary place. You know, you've got a team, you're a well-established business, something's pulled the rug out from under your feet with absolutely no notice. And, you know, it's not necessarily something you've done before. And, you know, we need to be talking about, you know, are you okay? But actually, what are you going to do? You know, all of a sudden there's no income potentially for the next few months, and we don't know when that's going to change. How are you going to handle that? So actually we're now having some really frank, you know, we'd never normally share this type of information, you know, and actually it's been really nice to develop this friendship. And I said to one of them, you know, hey, who knows what's going to happen as we come out of this? You know, we could end up working together, you know, who knows what might happen, but it's all positive, it's all good. And it's actually made me feel much better in a stressful time, you know.
You talk about I always look back at 2008 and go, if I'd had a finance head, which I so don't have, I should have been able to see that coming, because a lot of people did know it was going to happen. But no one could have predicted this was going to happen. It really did. So it sort of makes me feel a bit better about not having missed the first one. Yeah. But also, you said you're quite competitive, which I quite like to hear. You've also climbed Kilimanjaro. I've done that, but I haven't done all that other crazy stuff you've done. You swum around the Scilly Isles? I'm trying to think of everything I just read that you've done.
Probably the biggest one is I cycled from Land's End to John O'Groats in September. That's probably the biggest thing I've done.
Painful. But you've also done something in the Thames. So you'd signed up, but I don't know if that's postponed.
Oh, I'm swimming. Well, hopefully, if it goes ahead. A lot of sporting events are being cancelled, of course. But I'm doing the Henley Swim Marathon, which is basically swimming down the Thames about 15, 16k.
Having rowed on the Thames, it's bloody hard work. So good luck with it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's a great combat though too, and I think that's probably why I do as much sport as I do.
Yeah.
Because my career is actually very unpredictable. I have a team of people. I've got clients and candidates, and I can't control or predict always what any of those things are going to do. I've got all these variables every day, and I think actually the sport gives me something to focus on that I can control. To an extent, you know, I can control what I train, what I'm training to. I can map it out. I can stick to that routine. I think it balances out this insane career. You know, like trying to. I don't know. I mean, it's crazy, as you all know. You know, it kind of balances out, and also in terms of that stress, and actually being able to be well, to have your brain functioning well, and so actually, I'm probably doing more, or will be doing more sport now than ever before. Just again to keep myself in a good place so that I can make good decisions.
I think it's so important, isn't it? I love
how are you?
Oh,
Sorry,
I was
go on.
just going to share John's comment, actually. The agencies, single person to multi-locations, have not changed their approach, have not looked at upskilling their people and moved to being a business partner to their market segment, are the ones who will be cleansed. It's pretty well what we're talking about, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Good
Totally.
comment. That's from Canada, though he's English.
Any more comments?
Just currently lots of Canadian companies still hiring.
Mm.
Oh, no, sorry, Aaron. Hello, Aaron. Woo, Aaron Lynn. Collusion is the new norm.
Yeah. I mean, I guess one of the things I'm interested in as well is your experience of, individuals looking for jobs at the moment. Have you found that naturally people that are either in the process or might be slightly inclined to pause that? Have you, I mean, I'm still desk side recruiting, and we're speaking to people, and some of them are sort of like, look, I'd like to pause this at the moment. And yet there are other individuals who are like, well, look, if I find an opportunity that, I'm really bought into, I'm going to make that leap to a new role. So you said, kind of 6 placements last week, which is fantastic. Have you experienced both of that, reservation and people still keen to go forward, or is there a bit of a bias towards?
I think most people, once they've, my experience at the moment is that most people that have started that ball rolling are happy to see it through. So actually, of the 6 people that were offered jobs last week, only one of them has said that they feel insecure and therefore aren't going to progress things. I think actually we don't have any more applications at the moment. I wondered, as this all first started to unfold, I thought we would have lots of people looking for work. I thought we were going to be absolutely bombarded. And actually, I think had we not have had the news that we had on Friday in terms of furlough, then I think that would have been the case, because actually already that week there were being lots of redundancies that were being made in Exeter. There were a lot of people feeling very insecure. We were starting to get a lot of contact from people just putting their name in the hat. If something comes up, would you kind of stay in touch with me? And then actually, I think since we had that news on Friday, it's really only the odd person that I'm speaking to at the moment who's actively looking, I would say, over and above anybody who was kind of looking anyway.
So they're basically just going to wait it out.
So I think there's
got their
this big sitting and wait. So like the clients are kind of sitting and considering maybe what goes on. I think you've got a lot of candidates who at the moment have got guaranteed income. It might be less than what their normal salary is, but they've got a guaranteed income. And I think everyone, and this is maybe part of the problem, everyone, of course, is just going to sit back and take a view until we get a bit of movement again and we get a bit of positivity. I think this is how it's going to be. I mean, we're contacting candidates. There's a few live roles. There's a few companies who are still very much business as normal and are looking for staff. We're not getting people knock back the idea of a move, but I guess we'll see. I think maybe they'll be a little bit more cautious. There'll be, as you'd expect them to anyway, more research around the client. Maybe
I guess it's that thing where my brother just got a job before this happened, and I was relieved and a bit panicked for him at the same time. Hopefully he won't watch this to hear this. But it was that because, last in, like that whole, so kind of, because it can be. Thankfully, he's the finance manager, so he should be able to keep himself in. But it was like,
factor himself into the.
But it was like, and because it had taken him a while, bless him, because he's older now, so it's tough. It's much harder job searching when you're older.
That bit he doesn't want to hear.
He's a boomer. He's a boomer.
So, Sarah, here's a question for you. And this is an opinion piece. You may have thought about it, you may not have thought about it. This is not from my long list of questions, by the way. This is just something I've been discussing with people.
I was bracing myself for the questions.
Yeah, no, not at all. But listen, I mean, when I worked kind of agency side, the large proportion of what I did was contingency, right? Yeah. Now, do you think perhaps there might be a bit more of a shift by pure contingency play agencies to start thinking, well, actually, we're worth retained work, we're worth exclusive work, and that's what we'll factor in 20 to 30% of what we do, and we'll go after that purely, because in a time like this, if you've got fixed work and retained work, at least you're going to get paid something. Whereas if your pipeline disappears on a contingency side, that's it. You ain't going to get paid anything at all. So do you think that this might indirectly or directly start people agency owners thinking, well, actually, let's start thinking about a bit more of a mixed model, because actually that mixed model will help you retain people in times like this, right?
Absolutely. it's the one thing I don't like about what I do. I absolutely love my job, but I can't stand how we get paid, because we do a lot of work for nothing very often. So, and actually this is a conversation I was having with our account manager from the REC as I was talking to them last week. It's the conversation I've been having with these other agency owners in the area to say we need to get together and we need to make some changes or be thinking about this, because it doesn't feel like it's necessarily the right thing to do. Now, of course, on a more executive level, of course, you know, you would be charging in a different way, or you know, I have had retained clients where I've billed them in a slightly different way, but actually the majority of the work that we do is, you know, per head, invoice goes on, you know, first day, you know, that kind of standard agency model. And actually at times like this, you think I've done an awful lot of work, you know, we've got people to this point, and actually there is no reward for any of that. And actually equally, it seems a little bit unfair sometimes, even when I'm putting in a big invoice, you know, for a big placement, actually, that sometimes maybe those invoices are so high, because at times, I guess, if you're being philosophical about it, those people are almost paying for all that other time that you've maybe spent on some of those other roles that didn't work out. So I think there's got to be a better way of charging that seems fairer and actually takes the pressure off the consultants at points as well, in terms of then, you know.
That's a bit like being like Glenn in a way. Glenn doesn't know what I'm going to say, so but, you know, it's going to pull a face.
Let me sit back here.
No, but so you're like a contract talent acquisition professional, but it's like I also know other recruitment agents who've become like, I call them like mini RPOs, like baby RPOs, where they're the outsourced in-house person. So it's very, they charge very, very differently. I see a bit more of that happening as well, and actually in a way that would come back to Lee's question here and would give some more, maybe in the SME space, a bit more of a relaxed feel, because it's like I actually don't think that companies will dump their large teams. They might trim them down a bit, and they could upskill them ready for when it's not busy. But
I think the interesting thing for me, I was chatting to a friend about this the other day, right? Recruitment is often charged on what the client is charged on what they think are the tangibles. So the kind of time, the database you have access to, the candidate pool you have access to, and all these sort of things. But it's not charged on the slightly more intangibles, which is, Sarah's got over 20 years of experience. She knows within 2 to 3 minutes on a phone call whether a particular individual is engaged with the opportunity, is right for the role, and then she will continue that conversation. You can't turn around to a client and go, I'm going to charge you for my ability to speak to people on the phone and know within 5 minutes whether they're right for your role. But actually, you will be charging them for their perception of the fact that you have this network, this database, etc. So to your point around the kind of charging model, if how do you make that change? Because it's
like you're almost saying pay for the expertise and the amount of time you save them.
Exactly.
Because actually, it's, well, if I give my job to Sarah, she's only going to give me 3 people who are actually going to be relevant, and she's going to save me 1,600 hours of interviewing the wrong people.
And that's the point. I start to pay for Sarah's experience and the ability to deliver, and I'm prepared to
save
pay
me time
up front. I'm prepared to pay for that service up front. And this is the thing. I think sometimes clients perhaps perceive the old recruitment model, right, pay on delivery, which actually devalues, in my mind, to a degree, somebody like yourself, who you know, you should be paying, you know, whatever it is, 2, 3, 4 grand up front for you to start a search, because actually, you know what, it's 100% worth the investment.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think actually you'd see a massive change in client behaviour then. I mean, I work with some great clients, and I'm fortunate that actually they don't waste a huge amount of my time. But actually, if I look further back in my career, actually, I think if they were more accountable for the detail they were giving you, or I think if they were paying a little bit more upfront to secure
chapter 5, remember?
Do you know, I've not got to chapter 5 yet.
You get there and you'll be like, what? My client's giving me this chapter 5. Sorry, don't mind me.
But I think it's a really valuable consideration, because you know, it's how the recruitment industry is perceived in terms of its value and what people think, clients think they're paying for. And as you said, Sarah, albeit indirectly, if you invest some money in something, you're going to put a lot more effort into making sure that returns on it. You know, there's a return on that investment.
There's a couple of really supportive comments on what you're both saying as well. So Matt Taylor, hello Matt. If you're close enough to your clients, they know how much work goes into attracting talent to them, which is also cool.
Cool. Yeah.
So yeah, hunker down and brace for change in the way we recruit. I completely agree. And there's a hello from Australia, which kind of confuses me because he should be asleep. Hi, Jason. Can you be asleep? We've got a hi, Rahul from India as well. This is amazing.
Hey, Rahul.
Okay, and sorry, and did I do that one already?
No, you haven't.
Oh,
no, you
driving
haven't.
retained service will come as a result of being a business partner. Requires owners, managers, leaders to stop focusing on the pennies today and look at the pounds tomorrow. I do both. We're getting more asked to buy my service.
Yeah, that's good news.
Oh, and Jim, I don't think has been on the show for a while either. Hello, Jim.
Hey, Jim.
Retain and reward, blend on both. I've used that before.
Yeah.
Lots of support.
Yeah, really, definitely.
Yeah.
And I think to your point, Sarah, about the community. So I don't know whether there's like a coalition of recruitment agency owners in kind of the Exeter area, but perhaps after this, it might be, well, actually, you know what, there's value in us meeting on a monthly basis as peers to kind of talk about, you know, the market, you know, our market and how we're contributing to that and the value that we're contributing to. I mean, admittedly, back to a certain level of competitiveness, you know, you're not going to, you know, it can be completely transparent. But if that sense of community really is something that comes out of this quite challenging time, I think that's really valuable. And for me, if we can start to, and this is the thing, when we refer to in-house and agency, again, I think we're building barriers. Actually, it's all recruitment. It's just a different engagement model and a different level of investment. It's still recruitment. So there's not really any more value in terms of me versus you, in-house versus agency. It's just a different engagement model. And if that can come out of this as well, in terms of how, you know, companies perceive recruitment and start to see the higher level value, I think, you know, that would be a positive. I'll get down.
And it would be a positive for the human in the recruitment process, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Who doesn't understand? They just see recruiter. They don't understand there's agency and in-house and this and that and RPO and you name it. They just go, I just want a job. I just want to deal with one person. I just want to move on. Like that would be great.
And standards will be higher. Generally, you know, it raises the bar, doesn't it? Actually, you know, all of a sudden you've got a group of agencies who are performing at a better level. They're providing a better service. Their staff are engaged. They're, you know, trained in a slightly different way. Everybody's experience is a better one. So actually, you know, it's win-win, isn't it? Really.
100%. I mean, I think the credibility of the industry is something I'm really passionate about. You know, I think like all of us, I fell into recruitment. Sarah, same. Katina, same.
Why would anyone plan it?
I would like, I
bloody love it. I'm so glad I fell in it. But
I would like to maybe speak to people that go, I chose recruitment as a career because I could see it's a really valuable industry sector with a high bar.
One guest. Didn't we have one guest who actually said they chose it?
I'm looking for more than one person, maybe, just as a collective. more than just one person. But yeah, to your point, Sarah, and that kind of makes an interesting segue in terms of your kind of team, your kind of how do you continue to make sure that they're kind of upskilled? What, you know, is there any particular things that you do that kind of keep them kind of upskilled and in contact with the market? And certainly at the moment when you've got sort of time to perhaps think about, other than obviously buying. That way,
yeah.
I know it's the opposite. It's very disconcerting.
I was like, oh no, not yet.
No.
You know, or actually, has your team come to you and said, "Hey, Sarah, we'd really like to try this at the moment, and maybe help. You know, this will help us when we kind of really start ramping back up again."
Yeah, all the time. So, I mean, I'm often saying to them, look, I've been in this industry for a very long time. You know, I may not be the person who comes up with the new ideas. You know, we're in this together. You know, you guys are bound to have potentially innovative ideas. You know, share them with me so that we continually evolve. And I'm very open in terms of them developing their skills or the role or the desk. I see it as, you know, very much their business within my business. And actually, so I treat them all very differently because actually they all have different desires, different needs, different strengths. And so, yeah, I work with them individually in terms of kind of, I mean, as any manager would do, surely, you know, where are you going? Where do you want to develop? What do you need from me? You know,
sorry, what? As any manager would.
And whether that's more
as
time with me to train, or whether it's
manager would.
Yeah, there's all sorts of things that are going on, and actually they kind of flourish because there's different conditions for each of them based on, you know, where they want to go and where they want to take the desk and what type of clients they're working with, and, you know, all of that good stuff. So I've got a great team of brilliant minds who actually, I mean, now of course we're all working remotely, and actually it's been amazing to then actually, you know, Zoom calls every morning to make sure that we're all engaged, we're keeping that vibe, you know, which takes a lot of work when you've got very people-y people who are all of a sudden working remotely and disconnected from, you know, the physical team. And there's lots of ideas that are kind of coming through. And
do you feel like you're actually getting closer from it, really weirdly? Because I'm chatting to more people than I normally do.
Yeah, well, it's taking so much more effort, of course. It's a deliberate act. I mean, whereas we would have regular meetings back in the office anyway, actually now, because I'm very aware that they could very quickly lose their spark, there's a lot more effort that's going into, you know, team chat, you know, Zoom calls. We're doing an online pub quiz tonight. You know, there's loads of things that we're doing to keep that connection high and keep their positivity high, because actually some of them haven't been through a big crash or a big life event which would give them a little bit of the resilience that we have from all the things that we do. So actually there's an element of having to help them, you know, it's going to be okay. You know, I don't know what it looks like the other end, but it's going to be okay.
I think it's going to be different.
How are you finding that flip onto virtual? Because that's really fascinating to me that, you know, leaders and managers that have always historically managed in person, flipping purely onto virtual. Are you finding you've almost had to recut the schedule for the day in terms of the kind of check-ins, the updates, that sort of thing?
Yeah, and again, it's a very individual thing. Some of my team actually are very industrious at home on their own. They love it. They've got no distractions, and they're really, really enjoying that. Others are really struggling with the fact they don't have the team around them for that chat and you know, that kind of vibe. So actually, again, it's different for all. We have a team Zoom meeting every morning. We had a team lunch today by Zoom, which was really nice, which we would do in the office, but you know, we kind of did it through Zoom instead. And then
I think
times it's.
Have you got any of them you're having to deal with guilt? Like, so I went and sat outside and drank my coffee for 5 minutes. I didn't tell myself off. I just did it. Like, if I'd been in an office, I'd have stood at the coffee machine chatting to someone for 10 minutes. And it's really funny. I hear a lot of people feeling guilt because they're not at their desk constantly working the whole time. It's like, but you aren't when you're in the office. Are you finding some of them struggling with that?
Well, I think a lot of that has been having to explain the expectations and actually what's okay, what's normal. So we had a conversation the other day where it was like, you know, work in flow for say 20 minutes and get your head down and really get on with it. But then make sure you get up and go outside, or, you know, make sure that you're having some time. And I mean, I don't know, maybe you're putting the washing on because you're at home, but you don't have to sit in front of your desk. And actually some days you'll feel brilliant and you'll be really happy and everything's great. But actually on those days where you're not feeling like that, you need to FaceTime me or let me know how you feel. And we make a really big thing about being out in the fresh air in the office anyway. So everybody will go out for a walk or a run at lunchtime, and just making sure that actually they're doing those things for themselves as well to keep them mentally in a good place. So there's a check-in every day. How are you feeling out of 10? You know, and actually if it's below what I'd expect, why is that? Do you need any help? You know, have you been outside today? You know?
Glenn, like we ever had recruitment agent managers like this? Oh
yeah. I mean, to be fair,
the agency I was at was so toxic. Well, Glenn was at it as well, but like, wow, everything you're saying, I'm sitting here going.
Part of the reason why I was toxic, I was there. I was just a bad egg.
That's not what I said. That is not what I said.
Yeah, but I mean, before we sort of close out and Katina does her prize draw.
Oh, forgot about that.
What would you know? I mean, what would your kind of hope be for the certainly for the agency world? You know, the other side of this. Is there any sort of things that you would hope to take out of this? I.e., like you said earlier, a greater sense of community. You know, like the ability to adapt between in-person and virtual. Is there any other things you would hope might come out of, you know, a negative situation? What positives would you like to see, Sarah?
Crikey. There's loads.
It's a big question, isn't it? Sorry.
That was loads of questions.
Really? Yeah.
The sorts of things I'm looking, I guess, for my business to do is to evolve. So I guess that's what I'm thinking for the industry.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that, you know, there's more unity between agencies, the good agencies. Cool. You know, I very much see that, you know, we've got the agencies like us up here, and then, you know, there'll be others that maybe to provide a different service to us, but I'd like to see more unity, higher standards, a better way of billing. And then, cool. I mean, I'm thinking, you know, do we even need an office anymore? You know, actually, this is working quite well, you know, the way that we're working. I think there'll be some great positives that come out of it. The relationships with clients, sort of going through this with them and being vulnerable. You know, I'm talking to business owners who, you know, we're really on a level now. I mean, it's they're turning over 80 million, as one of my clients is, you know, versus the kind of where I am. You know, we've all got the same problem in terms of staffing and, you know, not knowing the future and how we get through this. And actually,
this virus is very leveling.
It's
totally.
Everyone, every single human is touched by it. It's like everyone.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So you answered that really tricky question so well.
It's good.
You really did. Yeah. So I mean, it's just great to hear, because, like I say, more people like yourself who do own businesses trying to drive a really positive agenda that will help everybody else.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's an awesome message. Awesome.
Definitely.
Important.
Right. Okay, shall we do it? I promised to give away a copy of this. I have, with my my very last invoice, managed to procure myself 20 copies. Yes, I have to buy my own book randomly. So I have got 11 names in here of people who are having a bit of a struggle at the moment in the random name selector. And
Sarah's got to choose the number, no? Because she can't see what you've got in front of you.
No, I just hit random name generator. I use technology. Oh, sorry, Sarah.
Oh, I feel like I've really missed out.
Oh, well, pick a number then.
5.
Abby Adamson. See, I feel bad
Abby!
Now. I might have to give away 2 because someone else did it the other way. I'll be nice and I'll give away 2 this week. Dean Burke, you also got it. So both of you can have one. So congratulations. I'm very happy for them. We shall do this every week. So please just, I will write an update. Make sure that you name a person you know currently has literally their redundancy. What are we calling it? Furlough, no pipeline, whatever it might be. But I want you to write a comment about why you've put their name down. What's great about them? This is to make them feel good as well through this process. So not just, oh, Sarah, like a Sarah, because Sarah's fabulous. Right? Makes sense. Sarah, thank you so much. I told you this wasn't scary.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
It's so nice to catch you after stalking you on Instagram for however long it's been. Bloody ages. Awesome. If people want to find you, what's the easiest way other than at Sark Night, which I always read as Sark Night, which is really bad.
At Sarah Night on Twitter, Instagram.
Awesome.
Come and see what crazy endeavours she gets up to with that exercise.
Yeah, exactly. Wait till Sarah swims the channel.
Yeah. I'm not just doing the channel, no.
Really? I bet you can.
No,
go for your 50th.
I wouldn't fancy that at all, yeah.
Set yourself a big target for 50.
Yeah. It's been amazing talking to you, though, Sarah. Thank you so much. Genuinely, really, real pleasure.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. You've been uber chatty, which has been absolutely brilliant. If you've got any questions, make sure you let us know, and we shall see you at the same time next week. Actually, no, we won't, because the clocks are changing in the UK, so it will be 10 a.m. Eastern and 3 p.m. Greenwich. No, we'll be on British summertime. Oh,
and we'll be having Robin Schooling joining us.
Oh yes, that would be super exciting. We're going to talk about open hiring, which sounds a bit crazy at this time, but actually it's probably needed more than anything. So definitely. Brilliant. Thank you, everybody. We shall see you next week.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Sarah. Take care.